Hi. What comes to your mind when you hear the word witch? Is it the common evil lurking in the shadows, or bubbling cauldrons and cackling and um, chaos and destruction? Well, I'm Nevada, and today we're going to discuss what actually is a witch. My main points for today's speech will be history, Wiccan principles, and what is versus what is not. Let's begin with the history point. Wicca is a modern pagan religion emerged mid 20th century Britain, once believed to be the survival of pan European witch cults that existed in silence and secrecy for centuries. However, later historians have disproved this origin story, identifying Wicca as a new religious movement built from a blend of ceremonial magic, romanticism, and reimagined folklore. Early modern witch trials, where thousands of women executed for satanic practices, have altered the perception of what witches are, even though those witch trials were not related to actual witches or Wicca at all. According to historian Ethan Dooley White, Wicca is the modern synchronization of a number of old and new elements that have never coexisted before, proving it to be a constructed spiritualistic system. And Helen Cornish also notes that Wicca was shaped in part by 19th century imperialistic ideologies that borrowed symbols and beliefs from other cultures without any context. Now that we understand that, let's move to what witches actually believe and practice today. In 1974, a council of American witches outlined the principles of Wiccan belief. These statements clarified that being a witch is not about ancestry, titles, fantasy, or even just simply saying, hey, I'm a witch, but instead it's about living in harmony with nature and controlling the forces within oneself to live wisely and peacefully with much dedication, as Wiccans value personal spiritual autonomy over hierarchy, honoring their teachers and leaders. But believe deeply in the inner growth, mental discipline, and interconnectedness of all living things, as the psychic and spiritual are equally important to the physical realm. And magic is not seen as a fantasy, but as an intention deeply manifested into our reality. As one puts, the thoughts one puts into the world are seeds of today's reality. Now, Wiccans respect all forms of life and believe in energetic responsibilities such as the threefold law. This was reflected in the 1974 Council Declaration that witches pay close attention to both their thoughts and their actions, believing to think one thing is to create such a thing. The principles emphasize spiritual mindfulness and universal harmony. With these principles covered, now let's discuss the final point. What witches are and what witches are not. Contrary to Hollywood myths, real witches do not fly brooms, worship the devil, or harm others in any way. In fact, causing harm violates ethical Wiccan law. The threefold law and belief in karma discourages any behavior that disrupts balance or hurts others in any format. The idea that witches are evil or demonic was largely spread by the church during the Dark Ages to seize power and property from pagan communities. These slanders persist in today's pop culture, with horror films and fantasies alike. Witches do believe in a higher universal force, often expressed as both God and goddess in one, representing both the masculine and the feminine as a whole energy. They pray, follow nature's rhythms and rhymes, and believe in reincarnation as a spiritual journey of growth. As stated in the principles, witches believe we are all one with each other, spirits, plants, animals, and more. Their practices focus on peace, nature, and responsibility with spiritual power, not fear or malice. Now, after today's speech, I hope you now feel more informed on what truly is and is not a witch and what it means to be a witch. Wicca is a peaceful, nature based belief system deeply rooted in deep spiritual reflection, ethical living, and a reverence for life. Thank you.